Hello people, this is Sonali, the Melodramatic Bookworm. If you've been here before, welcome back, and if you're new to my channel, welcome to the Melodramatic Bookworm family. I'm here today with my May 2021 wrap-up. I read 12 books in May, and I think about half of them weren't even on my May TBR, and I picked them up just because I wanted something to read while I was eating or while I was lying down, or which did not need a lot of effort to read. But I think that was the best decision I made in May because I found a gem of a book and a gem of an author through that. But you will see during the course of the video which books I'm talking about. I'm pretty happy with how my reading went, although I would have preferred it if I had actually stuck to my TBR and gotten all that reading done, because I have a few books that I'm still currently reading from my May list. But other than that, 12 books is a great number, I think. But anyway, without any further ado, let's dive right into this video and let me share with you all the books that I read in May 2021. A quick reminder, if you'd like to buy any of the books mentioned in this video, then please use my Amazon affiliate links in the description box below. It would be of immense help to me. First up is Star Daughter by Shweta Thakrar. This was such a huge disappointment, and this was a book that I read and reviewed for my channel members, and I was hoping that I would love it, but the complete opposite happened. This is the story of Sheetal, who is half star, half daughter, and her mother has ascended back to the heavens. She left Sheetal while she was a kid, and now Sheetal is with her father, and at this point in time she's a teenager, and the star song is calling to her, and at this point something happens that causes Sheetal's star power to injure her father, and he is now in a sort of a coma, and Sheetal now has to answer the star song and ascend back to the heavens and participate in a competition, all of this in order to save her father. And what she's going to find out forms this entire story. And I had so many hopes from this book. This was one of my most anticipated releases of last year, and I was super excited to read it. But what happened in the end? It fell apart so easily. It felt like the writing wants to be beautiful. I mean, if you ignore the whole thing, maybe you'll find the writing beautiful, but then the plot points are a little bit lame. The competition itself is so lame. I felt like there could have been so much to it, but what happened? And it does use Hindu mythology and nakshatras and all of these, and it weaves a tale around it, but it could have been handled in such a better manner, in a much better manner. But it just falls apart. It falls so short of it. I can't even tell you how this book could have been made better. You are giving me such a huge conflict, such high stakes, and in the end, what's happening? This. I gave this 2 stars out of 5. Oh, my heart breaks. Next is The ABC Murders by Agatha Christie. This is a Poirot mystery, and in this one, Hercule Poirot receives a letter in which someone is needling him, saying that if you are the greatest detective of all time, then stop the next thing that's going to happen. And what he's saying is, in this particular place, I'm going to murder this person, and now he has to figure out what it is. This serial killer, this murderer, is going by in alphabetical order. So the first person he's going to murder is in a town with that starts with the letter A, and the name of the person will also start with the letter A, and then it goes on that way. And now Poirot has to figure out what this all is about, and who the murderer is, what their motives are, and all of that. So I was really scared that I was not going to like this book because it has happened that I have felt a little disappointed before, but it didn't happen with this. This was so quick. It was so fast-paced. Like, Agatha Christie books are usually always fast-paced, but the satisfaction never goes away in this one. With every page turn, you are thinking, what's going on? What's going to happen? I want to know. And that sort of enthusiasm when you're reading a book, I feel that is very important. And I had that with this book. And I'm really glad that it ended up being a 4.25 stars for me, and it was really engaging. And even the end, you won't expect that. There's a lot that is going to change towards the end. I think this plot twist is a great one. I wouldn't say it's up there with the murder of Roger Ackroyd, but the plot twist in this is also great, and there's so much humanity also in the way Poirot wraps this whole thing up. So I'm really glad that I picked this up. This was another of my impulse picks. This was not part of my May 2021 TBR, and I started reading this while I was eating. I gave this book 4.25 out of 5 stars. Next up is another disappointment that I had in May 2021, and Anyway, the book is Before She Sleeps by Beena Shah. This is a dystopian kind of setting where women are controlled more by the government. They are pitted as a very important resource or something, and they are required to have more and more husbands so that they can have more and more kids in their repopulation drive or something. And there's this particular rebellion that's happening. Okay, there's a certain set of women who are rebelling, and now when this whole government and this rebellion comes head to head, what happens forms the entire story. And this reminded me so much of Vox about how it ended, because both of these employ such gists that talk about women and them fighting their way out of whatever hole they are stuck in. But in the end, it gives this whole savior complex to a man, or to multiple men. And I understand that there's got to be some depiction of allyship as well, because that's also important in its own way. But it just felt so flat, because even towards the end, even after the end, I'm still floundering, and I'm still thinking that, wait, who was behind all of this? And weren't women supposed to be finding out their own way out? There's so much confusion. The characters are confused. The plot itself, it may not be confused on the whole, but the way it is executed, that is a little bit confused, I felt like. And to bring that whole thing where you are getting a man to save, like he is swooping in and saving, and to bring side characters into the main ploy, and to make it feel like those side characters are the main characters, who is a man, and to make it feel like you are not going to escape, you are not going to live without the help of these men. Right, take the help of allies. Men can be amazing allies, but at least don't minimize what the woman has been trying to do all this while. Don't put her aside, don't put her to sleep and then come back and say that this is women's dystopian fiction. I give this book 2 out of 5 stars. Next up is a book for which I was part of the blog tour for, and the book is How to Become a Planet by Nicole Melleby. And this is a middle grade novel which talks about a teenager, almost teenager, battling depression and anxiety. And there were 2 reasons why I enjoyed this. One, because of how it talked about how it dealt with all of this, and 2, because I finished it in a day. Pluto Jean, whose mother has named her after the planet, or not planet, Pluto, whatever you want to call it. She is an almost 13-year-old who is battling depression and anxiety, and she's on medication, and her mother is trying her best to give Pluto the treatment that she deserves, treatment as in medical treatment that she deserves. But she has drifted away from her friends, and her mother tells her that she has to go live with her father. Both of them are separated in order to get better medical attention, but Pluto doesn't want to go. She doesn't want to leave all of this behind. And now Pluto has made a to-do list that she has to tick all of these, and then she can stay back over here. So she's trying to do everything, and maybe asking for help and making a new friend will help her do this. And it's such an easy read, first of all, that I want to stress on. language wise. But when you talk about depression and anxiety and the effects that it can have on an almost teenager, because we as adults ourselves don't know how to deal with it most times, many times, not most times. So imagine what's going on in the mind of a teenager when there are so many other changes also going on in her body. And we see all of these changes, we see all of these behaviors, and it's very numbing to see, because you can't dive into the pages and give Pluto a hug. You can't tell her that everything's going to be okay. She has to figure that out on her own, along with the help of whoever is in her life. It's a very sweet read. You will sometimes feel like you don't know what's happening. You will feel it being repetitive. You will feel it in a loop, but that's what those feelings all are. Like, you don't have control over them. So maybe even her mom's behavior sometimes, like, I feel like she didn't handle it well. I think it's justified in some ways, because sometimes we don't know how to handle our own anxiety and depression, and when we see someone else, especially someone as close to her as her daughter, you just want to make everything okay, but you also don't know how to go about it. So that was also a very interesting thing to see, Pluto's relationship with her mother, and how her mother's heart is breaking. I gave How to Become a Planet 4.25 out of 5 stars. Next up is another impulse pick which was not part of my May TBR, and that is The Strange Library by Haruki Murakami. This is a book that's so strange, and this, see, even now I don't know how to describe this book. This is a story of a boy who goes to a library, to the public library, to find out about taxes in the Ottoman Empire. That's so random, I felt like, but he goes there and he finds himself being led downstairs, and there's an old man who eats kids, and he's imprisoned over there, and there's a lot of weird looking people who are helping him, who are with him, who are talking to him, and it is honestly so weird. Like, I've read this just once, and I feel like I have to read it a second time around to actually fully understand this book. But I did grasp this, that this talks about sorrow and how its weight can sit on your chest, and how things can change in ways that you did not ever expect, but there are ways of coming to terms with it. I think that's what it is, but this was super strange, man. Oh god, I think it lived up to its name, The Strange Library. And yeah, I mean, Murakami is always wacky, and this was one of the wackiest books I've read, and I've read some strange books of his. Like Kafka on the Shore, there are leeches falling down from nowhere, from the sky. Why? Who knows? Okay. I still gave this book 4 stars out of 5 because it did make me feel things while I was reading it. But I need to reread it. Yes. Let me know if you'd like a review, dedicated review video of this book, because I would love to dissect it also. Next up are the 3 books in the Brown Sisters series by Talia Hibbert. I mean, Get a Life, Chloe Brown was the second book that I read in May, and Take a Hint, Danny Brown was the 4th, and Act Your Age, Eve Brown was the 8th, but I wanted to group them together and talk about them as a whole, because I find that there are certain similarities between these books. Get a Life, Chloe Brown is about Chloe Brown, who has fibromyalgia, and she has chronic pains. Chloe is a web designing virtuoso, and she wants, or she is not looking for any relationship right now. I mean, I don't think any of the sisters are. And Danny Brown is a professional, I think she's a professor, and she does not want the weight of a relationship because she thinks that she is not ready for them. She's not made for them, and all she's looking for is friends for benefits, and that's what she's asking her god. And Eve Brown, who is the baby of the family, she is she's a hot mess. She's trying, she's tried her hands at 10 million different things, but somehow everything keeps going wrong. She cannot hold down a business. She either loses interest or something happens to deter her from doing it. And now she is on a war path because her parents have given her an ultimatum, and she is on a war path to show them that she does not deserve their anger. There's a lot more to her than just that. And I'm talking just about the sisters, but the men in these sisters' lives, oh my god. Red for Chloe, Zafir for Danny, and what was the name? Jacob for Eve. I mean, all of them have their own quirks. They are such cinnamon rolls. I love them. See, the recipe that I found out that Talia Hibbert has for these sisters, for these stories, is that there are these flawed characters, flawed main characters, titular characters, who end up falling for men who have issues of their own. But instead of headbutting, there's a way in which Talia Hibbert writes this, in which they acknowledge each other's flaws and they promise to come together, and the way they strive for those relationships is something out of this world. It's so kind, so sympathetic, so understanding and empathetic that I was a huge ball of mush when I was reading all 3 books. That's why I finished reading 3 books in May, in the same month. That almost never happens. And I absolutely love these 3 sisters. I mean, I think I must say that Chloe is my favorite. The first book was my favorite as well, and Chloe is my favorite because I don't have a condition that's as bad as hers, but I have joint pains, and to see that a life can be comfortable while having those pains, and to see that life can be lived, and it made me feel really connected to her. And I really enjoyed these stories, all 3 stories. Chloe's story the most, as I've been telling you. They're so steamy as well, and you're reading and you're like, oh, okay. So I wasn't expecting that, but it's okay. But yes, I would highly recommend these adult romance novels if you're looking for some of them. They are so great. They are romantic, they are sensuous, they are steamy, they are very understanding of the reader as well. It feels like it will pull you in and it will give you like, I get you, I have empathy for you. That's what they say. I gave Get a Life Chloe Brown 4.5 stars, Take a Hint Danny Brown 4 stars, and Act Your Age Eve Brown 4.25 stars. Next is DNF, and a book that was a subscriber pick for the month of May, but I ended up DNFing at 60 pages because it was I won't talk much about this book because I already have a video in which I'm talking about why I DNF'd it and why I did not like it. The book I'm talking about is The Mistress of Spices by Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni. This was published in 97, so maybe her writing has evolved over the years, and maybe that evolved writing is what I am a fan of. This one, not so much. I just felt like the writing was over the top flowery. It was not needed that much. Like the author, there are sentences and then she twists around words and then she lops off certain words and tries in the bid to make it poetic, but it does not end up being poetic. It's just annoying because you know your mind is making that change. You're like, there should have been a word here. What happened? Okay, I'm not going to talk more about this book because I already have a video review. If you want to go check that out, link here as well as in the description box below. No star rating for this because this was a DNF. 60 pages in and I was like, no. Next up is another impulse pick, and that is Cracking the Code, My Journey in Bollywood by Ayushmann Khurrana and Tahira Kashyap. And this is Ayushmann Khurrana's memoir, you could say, and how he ended up becoming an actor. And he has very practical advice in here. He talks about his own life, and through his life he gives us codes as to how you can implement certain things in your life and make it big. And he's also, you know, brought out those certain truths for the Bollywood industry. This talks about his hard work and what went into his career that he has made now and the steps he took to be where he is right now. And while he was handling all of this success and how that success affected his life, his personal life, his relationship with his wife, he does not go into a lot of detail into that, but you know, even without him telling, you know that this was going to happen, because Bollywood is like that. And to see him juggle everything and to make his own rules and to abide by them, that's very impressive and inspirational. But it was not well written. I mean, it could have been better structured and better edited. It feels like Ayushmann Khurrana started on a thought and then he got distracted, he went somewhere else, and then he started saying something else altogether, and there's no flow, there's no fluidity to it. And I don't usually rate memoirs because of the story that they hold, and that's what's happening over here as well. I'm not rating it based on Ayushmann Khurrana's story. I'm just rating it based on the writing, because the writing isn't bad. You can get through it very easily. It's like 136 pages or something. The writing could have been a lot better. Because of that chunkiness of the writing, you feel very disconnected sometimes. But you can take a lot away from this book, and I would suggest that you do. It's a good one. If you are a fan of Ayushmann Khurrana, then I think you will love this book. Keep in mind that the writing isn't going to be that great. I gave Cracking the Code: My Journey in Bollywood 3.25 out of 5 stars. Okay. The last two books that I read in May 2021 were the first two in the Percy Jackson series, Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, and Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters. And I must say that I love these books more than I did the first time around. They're so much more fun. Maybe it's because I know what's going to happen and what comes in this story. I mean, I have the memory of a fish, and I do forget a lot of things, and I have forgotten a lot of things, and there were places where I was like, oh, I was as surprised as anyone would be when they were reading the series for the first time. And I was like, that's just me, guys. That's just me. And this is a story of Percy Jackson, who's a half-blood, half human, half god. He's a demigod, and he and his other half-blood friends, how they go on this adventure, how Percy Jackson sort of discovers who he is, and all the quests, the adventures he goes on. He battles these huge monsters. He is trying to save the world. He and his friends are trying to save the world. And you know what's the thing that I love about Percy is that he's just a normal teenager. He's like, I'm just a kid. Why are you making us or me do all of these things? I have no clue what I'm doing half the time. But he's half-blood and he knows what he's doing even without knowing what he's doing. And that's something that I love, that he brings out like this. I can't snap with my left hand, but he brings out like this. And I love that. Rick Riordan's writing is funny. He's absolutely hilarious in 10 million different ways. And I love how matter-of-factly he writes it. I rated this more than I rated these books the first time around. I rated the Lightning Thief 4.25 out of 5 stars this time, whereas the first time I rated it 3.5 stars. And the Sea of Monsters, I've given it 4.5 stars this time around. I don't remember what I gave it the first time. I think that was also 3.5 or 3.75 stars. Rereads are awesome. Also, these books we've been reading for the Bookbound Book Club, and the live show for it will be happening this Saturday on 12th of June on my channel, along with Shruti from Fandom Newbie and Meera from Meera Nair. Don't forget to join, and let's discuss the Percy Jackson universe and everything that Rick Riordan gave us in all his magnanimity. And I'm so looking forward to this live chat, and I'm so looking forward to discussing this series with Shruti and Meera and all of you. Shruti was reading this for the first time, and I'm enjoying seeing her updates. So those were all the books that I read in May 2021, along with a few ebooks. Which of these have you read? Which ones did you like? Which ones did you not like? Which of these books will you be going and adding to your TBR? Which ones are you going and adding to your wish list? Which ones are you going to go and buy right away? If you're going to buy any of these books, by the way, then please use my Amazon affiliate links in the description box below. It would be of immense help to me. And let me know in the comments what you thought of this video and these books, and I would love to hear from you. If you like this video, please like it and share it to spread the word. And if you like my content and would like to see more from me, don't forget to hit subscribe and click on the bell icon beside the subscribe button to get notified as and when I post new videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and add melodrama to your life.